So we need to prove the following. Let us begin. So we'll start a problem by considering the formula for cosine of 2 theta. We know that cosine of 2 theta that can be expanded to get cosine squared theta minus sine squared theta. Now, since we need cosine cube 2 theta, what we'll do? We'll cube both sides. That's going to give us cosine cubed 2 theta. This will be equals to cosine squared theta minus sine squared theta whole raised to the power of 3. Now let's expand cosine squared theta minus sine squared theta whole cube. That should give us, so we have cosine squared theta whole raised to the power of 3 minus 3 times cosine squared theta whole squared multiplied to sine squared theta plus 3 times cosine squared theta multiplied to sine squared theta whole squared minus we have sine squared theta whole raised to the power of 3. Now this will be equals to, now we have cosine theta whole raised to the power of 6 minus 3 times cosine theta whole raised to the power of 4 times sine squared theta added to 3 times cosine squared theta times sine theta whole raised to the power of 4 minus sine theta whole raised to the power of 6. We're going to take the first term and combine it with the last term. That gives us cosine theta raised to the power of 6 minus sine theta raised to the power of 6. However, as we can see here, in the right hand side of the given expression, we have 4 multiplied to cosine theta raised to the power of 6 minus sine theta raised to the power of 6. Let's do one thing. We're going to multiply with 4. Now, that's an extra term we are adding here. So we're going to subtract the 3 times cosine theta raised to the power of 6 minus sine theta raised to the power of 6. And we have the rest of the 2 terms. That will be negative 3 cosine of theta whole raised to the power of 4 times sine squared theta added to 3 times cosine squared theta multiplied to sine theta whole raised to the power of 4. Fine. We'll keep this term as it is. So we have 4 times cosine theta raised to the power of 6 minus sine theta whole raised to the power of 6. Okay, let's work with the 4 terms here. So we have negative 3 cosine theta whole raised to the power of 6 added to 3 times sine theta whole raised to the power of 6 minus 3 times cosine theta raised to the power of 4 times sine squared theta added to 3 times cosine squared theta times sine theta raised to the power of 4. This will be equals to 4 times cosine of theta whole raised to the power of 6 minus sine theta raised to the power of 6. What we'll do, we'll take this term and this term. And from these 2 terms, we're going to take negative 3 times cosine theta whole raised to the power of 4 as a common factor. Which means that from this term, we'll be left with cosine squared theta. And from this particular term, we'll be left with positive sine squared theta. Next, we will take these 2 terms and we're going to take 3 sine theta raised to the power of 4 as the common factor. So that gets multiplied to. So since we have taken 3 sine theta raised to the power of 4, we'll be left with sine squared theta. And from the last term, we'll be left with cosine squared theta. Now, we know that sine squared theta plus cosine squared theta, that's a standard identity with a value equals to 1. We'll be getting 4 times cosine of theta raised to the power of 6 minus sine theta whole raised to the power of 6 minus 3 times cosine theta whole raised to the power of 4. So this will be 1 plus 3 times sine theta raised to the power of 4. Fine. So this will be equals to 4 times cosine theta whole raised to the power of 6 minus sine theta raised to the power of 6. Now, from these 2 terms, let's take 3 as the common factor, negative 3 as the common factor. So that will get multiplied to cosine theta raised to the power of 4, but we're going to express it as cosine squared theta whole squared minus sine theta raised to the power of 4, but we'll be expressing it as sine squared theta whole squared. Now, we have 4 times cosine theta whole raised to the power of 6 minus sine theta whole raised to the power of 6 minus 3 times. Now what we have is the difference of 2 squares. So this is going to be cosine squared theta plus sine squared theta multiplied to cosine squared theta minus sine squared theta. Fine. This will be, now finally, we have 4 times cosine theta raised to the power of 6 minus sine theta whole raised to the power of 6 minus 3 to cosine squared theta plus sine squared theta, that will be 1. That will be multiplied to cosine squared theta minus sine squared theta, which is cosine of 2 theta. So we started out with cosine 3 theta whole cube, and we obtained 4 times cosine theta raised to the power of 6 minus sine theta raised to the power of 6 minus 3 cosine 2 theta. We will be transposing this to the left hand side, and this is going to give us cosine 3 theta whole raised to the power of 3 added to 3 times cosine of 2 theta, and this becomes equivalent to 4 multiplied to cosine theta raised to the power of 6 minus sine theta raised to the power of 6. And this is what we needed to show. Thus, we have successfully proved our problem.